You lost the job, the relationship ended, the opportunity fell through, the door closed, and now you're anxious, waiting for the next opportunity, waiting for clarity, waiting for something, anything to move. And you feel stuck, behind, like everyone else is moving forward while sitting in life's waiting room with no idea when your name will be called. But what if I told you the pause isn't punishment, it's preparation, and what you do in the waiting room determines what you become when you finally get called. This is your waiting room era, and today I'm going to show you exactly what to do with it. Hi, and welcome back to Miss Rain. I'm so excited to be in your ears today. If you're in a season where life feels paused, stuck, or like nothing is moving, this episode is for you. Right now, millions of women are experiencing what I call the waiting room era. Maybe you got laid off and you're waiting for the next opportunity. Ended a relationship and you're waiting to feel whole again and move on. Applied for jobs, programs, opportunities, and you're waiting to hear back. Want to move, travel, start something new, but circumstances aren't aligned yet. Feel like everyone else is moving forward while you're standing still. And here is what happens in the waiting. That ugly internal rage starts building. You compare yourself to people who seem to be ahead. You fall into the victim role. Why is this happening to me? You feel behind, lost, frustrated, powerless. And that's completely normal. I'm not here to sugarcoat the reality of waiting. I'm not here to tell you to be a superhuman who never feels the pain of being stuck. Because here is the truth. If you neglect this phase, if you suppress the emotions, if you keep everything inside, it will destroy you. So first, I want to give you permission. Be sad about it. Feel the disappointment. Acknowledge the frustration. Cry if you need to. Rage if you need to. Grieve what didn't happen. We're designed to go through multiple emotions according to what we're experiencing. Just don't drown in it, but don't rush past it either. Give yourself time before forcing yourself to figure it out. Because how would you know the meaning of happiness without going through sadness? How would you understand a smile without experiencing a cry? But once you've allowed yourself to feel it, once you've honored the disappointment, then we begin the real work. In this episode, we're covering why waiting feels unbearable, the neuroscience of uncertainty, the psychology of liminal space, and why in-between seasons are actually growth accelerators, Islamic wisdom on Sabr, active patience versus passive waiting, the difference between productive waiting and anxious waiting. 5 practices to use your waiting room era intentionally. And last but not least, how to know when to push forward versus when to surrender. By the end of this episode, you'll see your waiting season completely differently. So let's dive in. Before we go into the psychology and the practices, I want to share something that completely changed how I see difficult seasons. You know what an electrocardiogram is, right? An ECG or EKG. Simply, it's the machine that monitors your heartbeat. Here is what most people don't realize. A flat line of an ECG means the heart has stopped. But the line that goes up and down, the chaotic, fluctuating, unstable looking line, that means the heart is alive. Life is the same way. If everything in your life was stable, linear, predictable, easy all the time, that's not growth. That's flatline. I love this example. I always bring it up whenever I'm talking, discussing, and analyzing something with my friends since the day I learned it in college. This life is built on opposites. You need the contrast to understand the beauty. You experience sadness to appreciate happiness. You go through struggle to value ease. You face uncertainty to recognize clarity. You endure waiting to celebrate arrival. Transformation is not a linear journey. It's not a straight line from point A to point B. It's up and down, forward and backward, breaking and rebuilding. And the down moments, the pauses, the waiting rooms, those aren't failures. Those are proof you're alive. Those are the seasons preparing you for what's next. So, if you're in the down moment right now, if your line is dipping, if you feel like you're in the valley instead of the peak, you're not broken, you're in motion. And motion, even when it feels like stillness, is always taking you somewhere. Okay, so now let's talk about why waiting feels so unbearable. Because understanding the science behind it helps you not take it so personally. Research in neuroscience shows that the human brain hates uncertainty. Your brain is a prediction machine. Its primary job is to predict what's coming next so it can keep you safe. When you know what's happening, your brain feels safe. Your nervous system stays regulated. You can plan, prepare, and feel in control. But when you're in a waiting season, when the future is uncertain, your brain perceives threat. Your nervous system activates stress responses. Cortisol increases. Anxiety spikes. Dr. Archy de Berker, a neuroscientist at University College London, conducted research showing that uncertainty itself is more stressful than knowing something bad will happen. In other words, waiting for the job offer is more stressful than getting rejected. Not knowing if they'll call you back is more painful than knowing they won't. The limbo is worse than the outcome. Why? Because your brain can't predict. And when it can't predict, it assumes danger. Waiting also creates a dopamine drought. Dopamine is released when you achieve a goal, make progress, experience novelty, receive reward. But in waited seasons, there is no achievement yet. There is no visible progress. There is no reward. There is just waiting. So your brain gets frustrated. It starts seeking dopamine hits elsewhere. Whether it's by scrolling, shopping, distracting, numbing, not because you're weak, but because your brain is trying to compensate for the lack of forward motion. So when you feel anxious, restless, frustrated during waiting, it's not a character flaw, it's neuroscience. Your brain is doing exactly what brains do when faced with uncertainty. The question is, how do you work with your brain instead of against it? Now, let me introduce you to a concept that will completely reframe how you see waiting. Ladies and gentlemen, liminal space. The word liminal comes from the Latin limen, meaning threshold. Liminal space is the in-between. It's the space between who you were and who you're becoming, what ended and what hasn't started yet, the old identity and the new one. Anthropologist Arnold van Gennep identified liminal space as the second stage in rites of passage. Separation, leaving the old, liminality, the in-between, and the incorporation, entering the new. And here is what research shows. Liminal space is where transformation happens, not in the before, not in the after, in the uncomfortable, uncertain, undefined in between. Let me give you some examples of liminal space. For example, between jobs, between relationships, between homes, between identities, between versions of yourself. It feels disorienting because you're no longer who you were, but you're not yet who you're becoming. Psychologists studying transition theory, particularly William Bridges, found that people who successfully navigate liminal space often experience increased self-awareness, clarified values, renewed sense of purpose, great resilience, and deeper spiritual connection. Why? Because when the external world pauses, you're forced inward. When you can't move forward, you move deeper. When you can't control what's happening, you focus on who you're becoming. The waiting room is liminal space. And what feels like stagnation, it's actually incubation. Now, let me take you into the spiritual dimension of waiting, because this isn't just psychology. This is soul work. In Islam, there is a concept called Sabr, often translated as patience. But Sabr is not passive waiting. It's not sitting back and doing nothing. Sabr is active patience. It means trusting Allah's timing while doing your part, surrendering the outcome while taking action, accepting what you can't control while controlling what you can. Allah says in the Quran, "All you who have believed, seek help through patience and prayer. Indeed, Allah is with the patient." In another verse, "And we will surely test you with something of fear and hunger and a loss of wealth and lives and fruits, but give good tidings to the patient." The testing is part of the design. The waiting is part of the process. And those who practice sabr, they're promised something beautiful. Indeed, the patient will be given their reward without account, which means the reward for patience is beyond measure. Let's dive deeper. Passive waiting can translate as, "I'll just sit here and hope something happens." But sabr, active patience, is usually, "I'll do my part, prepare myself, improve myself, and trust Allah with the timing and outcome." I'll give you an example. You're waiting for a job. Passive waiting, refreshing your email 50 times a day, anxious, doing nothing else. Sabr would be applying to jobs, building skills, networking, improving your resume, working on yourself, while trusting that what's meant for you will come at the right time. Another example, you're waiting for the right relationship. Passive waiting, obsessing, stalking social media, desperate for someone to choose you. Sabr, healing yourself, becoming whole, building your life, preparing to be a healthy partner while trusting Allah's timing for love. Sabr transforms waiting from helpless to empowered. If you're not Muslim, you can apply this same principle, trusting divine timing, trusting the process. The wisdom is universal. Do your part, then surrender the rest. And here is the truth that sustained me through every waiting season. A delay is not a denial. Allah isn't punishing you by making you wait. He's preparing you because maybe this version of you isn't ready yet. Maybe you need to heal something first. Maybe you need to learn something first. Maybe you need to become someone first. The pause is preparing you for what you prayed for. Let me tell you one of my favorite stories about waiting. the story of Prophet Yusuf, Joseph, peace be upon him. Yusuf was betrayed by his own brothers as a child, thrown into a well, sold into slavery, taken to Egypt, then falsely accused and thrown into prison. He waited in that prison for years and years, not days, not months, years. Imagine that. You're innocent, you did nothing wrong, and you're sitting in prison, waiting. Most people would lose hope, become bitter, give up on life, question everything. But Yusuf, he used the waiting. While in prison, he interpreted dreams, helped others, maintained his faith, and prepared for what was coming. And then, when the time was right, the king had a dream. Yusuf was called, he interpreted the dream, and within hours he went from prisoner to second in command of Egypt. The waiting wasn't wasted, it was preparation. Those years in prison built his character, strengthened his faith, positioned him for influence, and prepared him to lead a nation. If he had been given power earlier, would he have been ready? Probably not. The waiting made him who he needed to be. So, when you're in your waiting room, when it feels like years and nothing is moving, ask yourself, what is this season preparing me for? Who am I becoming in the waiting? Because when your name gets called, and it will, you'll need to be ready. All right. So now let's get practical, because there are two ways to wait, anxiously or productively. Let's start with anxious waiting. It's when you obsessively check for updates, ruminate on worst case scenarios, compare yourself to others, spiral into what ifs, feel helpless and stuck, do nothing because you're paralyzed. The result? Time passes and you're in the same mental and emotional place, or even worse. But productive waiting is when you accept that you're in a waiting season. Use the time to prepare internally, focus on what you can control, build skills, heal wounds, clarify vision. Trust the timing while taking action, and become the person ready for what's next. The result? Time passes and you're transformed. Think about when you're in an actual waiting room, at the doctor, at the salon, at an appointment, whatever it is. You know it's temporary. You know you'll eventually be called. So, what do you do while waiting? Maybe you read a book, listen to a podcast, plan your week, text a friend, or rest, etc. You don't just sit there in agony, staring at the door. Do the same in life's waiting room. Use the time. Productive waiting says, I don't know when this will happen, but I know who I'll be when it does. Okay, so here are 5 specific practices to help you navigate your waiting room era with intention. Practice number 1. Allow the grief, then redirect. First, honor the disappointment. Don't rush past it. Don't spiritually bypass it with toxic positivity. Give yourself a designated time to feel it. Maybe it's 1 day to cry, 1 week to be angry, or 1 month to grieve, but then consciously redirect. Journal it out. I'm disappointed that situation X didn't work out. I'm grieving the loss of a dream, person, or an opportunity. And now I'm choosing to trust that something better is coming. This honors your humanity while protecting your future. Practice number 2. Identify what you can control. In waiting seasons, you can't control the outcome. but you can control your internal work. The practice? So make two lists. What I can't control, for example, when the job offer comes, if they text back, when circumstances align, other people's decisions, the timeline. The second list, what I can control, my skills and growth, my mindset and beliefs, my healing and self work, my preparation and readiness, my daily habits, my peace. Then focus all your energy on the second list. Practice number 3, use waiting as preparation time. Ask yourself, who do I need to become to be ready for what I'm asking for? Waiting for a relationship? Work on your attachment style. Heal your past wounds. Build your life independently. Become whole first. Waiting for a career opportunity? During waiting, build new skills. Expand your network. Create a portfolio. Study your industry. Waiting for a financial breakthrough? Learn about money management. Clear debt. Build better habits. Increase your capacity to receive. The pause is not punishment, it's prep time. Now, practice number 4. Practice tawakkul. We've already talked about tawakkul in a previous episode. It's trust plus action. This is the Islamic principle of tawakkul. Tie your camel, then trust in Allah, which means do your part. Tie the camel and then surrender the outcome and trust Allah. Every day ask, what action can I take today? This keeps you from passive waiting. What am I releasing to Allah today? This prevents anxiety and negative thoughts. For example, the action would be applying to 3 jobs today, and the release, I release the outcome, the timing, and the perfect opportunity to Allah's hands. This keeps you empowered without being controlling. Last but not least, practice number 5. Reframe the narrative. Your brain will want to create stories. I'm behind. I'm being punished. Everyone else is winning except me. Something's wrong with me. Consciously rewrite the story. Instead of I'm stuck, say I'm in preparation. Instead of nothing is happening, say something is being prepared for me. Instead of I'm being left behind, say I'm being positioned for something specific. Instead of this is taking too long, say the timing is perfect, even if I don't see it yet. What you tell yourself in the waiting determines who you become. Now, here is the question everyone asks. How do I know when to push forward and when to surrender? Let me break it to you. Push forward when you feel internal clarity and alignment. Doors are opening, even if slowly. You have energy and inspiration. The path feels right, even if hard, and you're being called to action. Surrender when you're forcing something that keeps resisting. Every door is closing despite your best efforts. You feel exhausted and depleted. It doesn't align with your values anymore, and you're holding on out of fear, not love. Here is a prayer I used in liminal space. Allah, if this is good for me, make it easy and bring it to me. If it's not good for me, remove it from my heart and replace it with something better. That's the balance. Do your part, then trust the divine redirection. So here is what I need you to hear. You're not stuck. You're in the waiting room before your breakthrough. And waiting rooms are temporary. Your name will be called. The door will open. The next chapter will begin. But what you do in the waiting determines what you carry into the next season. So use this time. Grieve if you need to. Heal what needs healing. Build what needs building. Become who you need to become. Because divine delays are not divine denials. The pause is preparing you for what you prayed for. And when the time is right, and only when the time is right, you'll look back and understand why you had to wait. If this episode resonated, share it with someone sitting in their own waiting room right now. And remember, waiting isn't wasted time if you use it to become. Thank you so much for spending this time with me. Until next time, stay graceful, stay powerful, and always wear your crown.